So Monica McNutt, obviously she's been spoken about as giving a really weird, ridiculously bad reason for Rookie of the Year. But I do want to say, I gotta give, like I've talked about it yesterday, saying that she should just double and triple down and buy into the meme with her reasoning, and she's done it. So I gotta give credit where credit's due. Before we get on to, if you guys aren't new to the channel, subscribe. We are so close to 19,000 subscribers. We are trying to hit 20k by the end of the WNBA season, which is obviously in like 8 days from now. So we're trying to hit 20k by then. We are probably going to hit it, but if we don't, it is what it is. But anyway, if you guys heard from, this is what Monica McNutt said about the Rookie of the Year voting between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, obviously. And previously, what she had been criticized for was saying that she basically said that Caitlin Clark was her Rookie of the Year, but you know, the Fever are behind the Sky, so now it's Angel Reese. So this is what she said.
Caitlin and Aaliyah starting to cook in that pick and roll. Kelsey Mitchell now knows how to come to the ball, and Caitlin is now picking up where to find her. Timmy Fagbenle, very versatile as a 4-5 and a competitor. Like, all right, now I know I got to get my hands ready to catch these passes from Caitlin. Alyssa Smith finally turning the corner in terms of her engine. I actually think that Indiana has a good chance to be solidly in the postseason.
I mean, she's right about all of that, by the way. And then again, like, a big part of that is also Caitlin not trying ridiculous stuff like she was at the start of the year and getting used to everything. But no, this is a team that is clicking, especially offensively. Defensively, they just suck. But they're starting to click offensively. And that's why even in the last video when I was like, Monica McNutt is smart enough to know what she's talking about, but I also think she's smart enough that she's putting herself in a position where she doesn't have to really like say who's better. She can just base it on the standings, which is, I still think is a really dumb reason. Heck, it was so bad that literally on whatever Colin Cowherd show he wasn't on, someone literally went on a 2-minute rant about how the standings should not affect Rookie of the Year.
If they are 7, that's going to be runaway in terms of Rookie of the Year, even if Angel continues like the 28 is the most double-doubles in the season. Alyssa Thomas had it last year.
She's going to do it.
Angel already has 13. That will also be historic.
Like, the funny thing is with Angel Reese, I will say, is Angel Reese is not only going to break it, she might get 28 in a row.
If she's able to track that. But if she tracks that and they're 9, 8, Caitlin and pulls them into 7, one of my bigger metrics on this Rookie of the Year conversation is going to be how do you impact winning, and it's just hard to debate that.
I still think it's such a dumb reason. Like, again, she's now like on the side of the person who I think is Rookie of the Year. She's now on the Caitlin Clark side of things because the Fever had a better team. And look, I think if you took Caitlin Clark off the Fever and you took Angel Reese off the Sky, I think they're probably even. I think they're probably even as teams. Everybody talking about, oh, but like the Sky lost all of their scores from last year. It's like, yeah, they lost Kat Copper mostly. That's their biggest loss. Whereas they gained Kennedy Carter, who's probably better than Kat Copper. And Kennedy Carter is playing less minutes. If you're looking at the scores, I think she's like 14 in scoring in the WNBA. And she's played like the closest to her as far as in the top scorers who have played the same minutes as her is like 40. Like the entire top 40 scorers have played more minutes than her. And she's 14. Like as a starter, Kennedy Carter is one of the 3 or 4 best scorers in the entire WNBA. So Kennedy Carter is better than anyone on Caitlin Clark's team, including Caitlin Clark. I just really want to make that a point. But the standings is going to be a really interesting one because you're looking at 2 teams that I think are going to be really similar as far as when it's all said and done. So you can see like Chicago are tied. Literally tied with Indiana. About 8.5 points. 8.5 games back. Problem is like Chicago have a really tough schedule. So for their next few games, the Chicago Sky have to play. Where is schedule? So you're seeing it. So they're playing the Dream, which is a game they should very comfortably win. But then after that, they play the Liberty, the Aces. Like that is what they play going in. So they're almost certainly going to go 1-3. Unless they can fluke a win out, they're almost certainly going 1-3 into the Olympic break. Whereas if you're looking at the Fever, the Indiana Fever, they don't have that easy a run, but it's not too bad. So you're playing the Mystics, which is not... Look, the Mystics, again, are the best 5-17 team I've ever seen. So they're not an easy out. The Mercury are out for revenge, but the problem is like if you're looking at the Phoenix Mercury, like they're getting it quite well. So like even Mercury's last game, as great as Natasha Cloud has been, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, both Brittany Griner and, if I'm not mistaken with this, I think Brittany Griner and Taurasi have been injured at the minute. Like, if they're going to play, they're going to play, but they're also, like, I don't think they're not going to play, if you get me. Like, I think if they're not 100%, they're not going to play against the Fever. They're going to want to play, but they're not going to not play. So if you look, the Sparks, obviously people now suddenly talking about actually Rickea Jackson is the rookie. I've heard Rickea Jackson's actually a rookie of the year over Caitlin Clark. But like, you've got Derek Hamby on this team. Like, Lee Uru's barely playing now. But like, this is a Phoenix Mercury team. Herbert Harrigan played 29 minutes, 6 points. Natasha Cloud at 31. Like, this Mercury team, actually Brittany Griner did play. But like, who else? Becca Allen didn't play. Taurasi didn't play. It's an 8-man rotation, and a couple of players that just aren't normally in the rotation were playing. So it's like the Fever have the Mystics, not too bad, the Mercury, and injured Lynx, and then the Wings. The Wings are the best of all these teams because Odyssey Sims is suddenly playing like an MVP candidate the last while. So the Wings are definitely a more difficult out than when their whole team was injured against the Sky. But at the same time, you're looking at potentially Fever going on a 5-game win streak going into this. Because, like, I would say they're the favourites to win against the Mystics. I would say it's even between them and the Mercury, especially if Taurasi isn't playing. Or if Taurasi and Becca Allen aren't playing, then you've got the Lynx without Nafisa Collier, who is definitely not going to play that game. And then you've got the Wings, who I would say there's a legitimate chance they win 4 in a row. So if it does end up being a case where it's like, let's say the Fever go in 13-13, and the Sky, let's just say, win 1 of 4. They win 1, lose 3, and it's 13-13 versus 9-15. With the Fever having a more difficult run-in, or say with the Fever having an easier run-in, then you're like, okay, yeah, they're 3 games ahead? If it ends up being a 3 or 4 game difference, that's when the record should make a difference. But Monica McNutt is literally flip-flopping. She's literally flip-flopping game by game. And I think what she said was really not smart either. Because everything she said was right about why the Fever are good. And I think a lot of her logic is like, well, this Fever team's starting to click. They're going to be a better team. And if you know anything about the league, the gap between 7 and 6 is going to be huge. Like, the Mercury are 6th. So if it ends up being a case where it's like, okay, yeah, the Indiana Fever are 7th, but they're 7th on 20-20, and the Sky are 8th on 14-26, then yeah, that's a big gap. Now that's a big gap between 8. But if it ends up being the Fever on, let's just say, 16-24 are 7th, and the Sky on 15-25 are 8th, then that's a dumb reason. So the seeding matters. If there's a big gap in the teams, it can matter. But with the way it is right now, especially because her logic is if they're 1 seed higher, and the fact that they're currently the 7 versus 8, and they're literally the exact same amount of games back from the top, which is either Liberty or the Sun, in both last 4 games. I'm not sure who's won more. But yeah, it is. Look, Monica McNutt's smart. She knows what she's talking about in general, and I can kind of see like her logic about it. But when it's this close, you can't just keep flip-flopping, and she is flip-flopping. Which is, I actually respect that a bit, because I tweeted out and I was like, she should actually just tweet out every single time the standings change, tweet out blank is rookie of the year. Like, now, as soon as the Fever lost, or as soon as, the Sky ended up overtaking the Fever, should tweet out Angel Reese rookie of the year. And when the Fever overtook the Sky again, it would be Caitlin Clark as rookie of the year. Just with no context. Nothing, no reasoning, just every single time the standings flip, just repeat. And at the end of every game when they play, if the Fever are ahead, Caitlin Clark is rookie of the year. After every Angel Reese game, if they go ahead, Angel Reese rookie of the year. I think that would be funny. But like, look, she is now, you know what? I like it. I like it. She can go one of 2 ways. You can go one of 2 ways when you make a take as outrageous as basing an entire individual player award on team standings. You can go one of 2 ways. You can either say, oh, you know what? I I was probably wrong. Like, team standing is going to be taken somewhat into account, but obviously it's not going to be the determining factor. Or you can double down and basically say it is the determining factor like she did and constantly flip-flop. And you know what? I don't really care if your reasoning is crazy. If you're consistent with your crazy reasoning, I gotta respect that. If she's consistent with her flip-flopping for the rest of this year, okay, fair enough.